Hey, well, one of the first things I am asked, and inevitably one of the first things I ask someone else when I'm meeting them is, what do you do for work? 9 times out of 10, when I tell them I'm in real estate, the next question usually goes something like one of the following. Oh, how's the real estate market? What's going on with interest rates? I read that the market crash is inevitable. When do you think that's going to happen? There is a lot of concern out there, no question about it. In this video, I plan to discuss a new lending tree study because I'm big on data, I'm big on facts, and I like to bring those to you. Well, it came out about consumers and what they think about the current market. No information should be taken seriously without data to back it up. So I'm going to give you a few visuals that really help to show where the market is at right now, and I'll wrap up talking about where I think the market is heading. If you're watching or listening to this, it's going to be a little bit of a deep dive that I would encourage you to send to somebody, share it with somebody, maybe a family member that has thoughts on the market, a coworker that is on the fence about whether now is the time to buy their first home, because I'll be discussing a few key points for what's going on in the market and what we're seeing right now. So like I mentioned, this information is coming from a lending tree study that was recently published. Its primary focus is about a consumer's thoughts on a potential market crash. The information that they gathered is honestly pretty interesting and something I think is important to pay attention to right now, especially with a lot of rumors happening, a lot of maybe news outlets that are saying certain things to maybe clickbait you. So here you go. Here's the information that they got. In the study, 41% of Americans believe the housing market will crash in the next 12 months. So really what that means is, if you were just recently at a holiday party in a room full of 10 people, 4 of those people believe the market is going to crash. Based on some of the conversations I've had with people in casual meetups or coffee shops or just introducing myself, I would have not been shocked if that number was higher. 72% believe the crash will be as bad or worse than 2008. Think about that. If you were in that market in 2008, the majority of them, the overwhelming majority, think it'll be as bad as 2008. And 58% expect the housing crash next year, and they're postponing buying, selling, or some other housing-related change. So for me, the first question that comes to mind when I see these numbers is, what sort of information are they being provided, and where is that information coming from? Why are they coming to this conclusion? So by operating under and making decisions based on assumptions or on information that is simply not accurate because of listening to another person's assumptions, we all could be making a great mistake right now that could cost us as we go into this next year. I'm going to give you the data you need to understand the reality of this housing market. The other thing that is completely lost during conversation about the current market is this. Today is nothing like what we saw 15 years ago in 2008. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't in real estate during that time, but good thing we do have historical data that can be utilized instead of simply relying on borderline folklore. This information is from Lawrence Yun at Keeping Current Matters. So you think about the lending tree survey that we just talked about, and the reality is we're in a market that's very, very different. Absolutely nothing like the housing crash of 08 and 09. We can go through each one of these. Job cuts. Back in 2008, there were 8 million in the last cycle. Virtually none now. Now I know as we're getting a little bit further into 2023, that's changing, but you are starting to see a few more recently as larger companies are bracing for the recession, which I believe we are already in. We talk about that in some other videos. But if anything, the employment market has been the anomaly of this economic slowdown. And the economy is slowing down, make no doubt about it. But total jobs, 138 million back then. Today, there's 158 million. So that's really good news. Different times, different situations. Subprime loans, if anybody remembers those were all over the place back then. And there's virtually none in the market right now. So another good thing, another difference in 2008 and today. New construction during that time period. The 5 previous years, over 7.5 million new homes built. Now, over 4.5 million. Big difference there in the number of homes built. Inventory. This is really the biggest gap that we're going to see. 3.8 to 4 million homes on the market back then, where we see just over 1 million homes on the market right now. You'll get delinquencies and foreclosures. One, articles like this continue to come out on the housing market. This one that you see here is titled 15 years ago, the market crashed under similar circumstances. Now, if I go back and we talk about the Lending Tree survey, we look at this headline. If we don't have the facts, or if we as consumers don't have this information at our disposal, we are definitely heading into the direction of blindly believing something that simply is not true, or at the very least, missing a huge amount of context. This information allows us to understand what's actually happening and the differences in the market today versus back then. My encouragement to you is going to be to have this information in front of your mind as you have those conversations throughout your week. Headlines like this, they're going to pop up. I cannot control that, you cannot control that, but what you can control is the information that you have to combat information like this. So knowing the facts from fiction will certainly help you sleep better at night and allow the ability to make educated decisions about whether to be involved in this housing market. So what are some other things to consider for this upcoming year and how we should see the housing market in 2023? Another good place to look is the forecast for home prices for this year. We certainly have those calling for appreciation, those also calling for depreciation. As you see, going into this year, this is going to be a question that's going to be on a lot of people's minds. As you can also see though, there is not a single expert in the field that is calling for prices to fall off the shelf. This is a good thing. There will be new forecasts that do come out that I will share on this channel throughout the year, but for now, what we are seeing is a fairly neutral projection for prices. This type of information can change depending on the price point and regional location throughout the year. I also have another video coming up that will be posted after this one where we are much more hyper-focused on what's going on here in the North Texas area. So more to come on that. Okay, so another question that a lot of us might be asking ourselves is, well, what about the wave of foreclosures we should be seeing? There's no doubt foreclosures are up, but still near record lows. If you look through the third quarter of this year, which was 2022, there were 88,000 foreclosures in the country. You know, you compare that to 2019, the last sort of normal year before the anomaly of COVID and the moratorium on foreclosures, there were 278,000. That is a big difference. If you were to play this year out and stay on the track of where we've been, probably 125,000 foreclosures, we're nowhere near what we saw back in 2019. Okay, so the reality is the equity that people have today, if they are in real trouble and facing a possible foreclosure, they can go out and sell their home with an experienced realtor, pay a marginal real estate commission, and still be able to put some money in their pocket. Rent for maybe the time being until the storm is past. Storm being a job that was lost during the pandemic, debts that have risen abruptly due to inflation, etc., and get past the crisis they're facing. Back in 2008, that wasn't an option. You didn't have an option to sell. The question wasn't going to be, are you going to lose money? It was, how much are you going to lose? The biggest challenge today may be, you may not make as much money as you would have back in the spring of 2022, but no doubt strong appreciation over the last couple of years is benefiting sellers all over the country. All right, so the other question that is brought up consistently is about mortgage rates. So I've got some information for you regarding the trajectory of mortgage rates starting from the beginning of 2022. when they were historically low. Historically meaning we've never seen them this low for this long, to where we are right now. Okay, so we have seen some relief in the last few weeks on the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, but there is no doubt we're coming out of a year with the fastest rise in mortgage rates. We haven't ever seen a year where mortgage rates actually have doubled. We did see that in 2022. Now, let's look at rates since the middle of November. You sit here November 10th, and each week we've seen a little bit more relief where we sit as time goes on. As of late December, according to Freddie Mac, 6.31% is the average 30-year fixed rate. And reviewing rates this morning, seeing rates falling a little bit lower than that. Depending on credit score, debt to income ratio, right now you could get a rate as low as 6.1, 6.15. But no doubt over the last several weeks, we have seen this kind of step down. A little bit of cooling off on the interest rates, which is a good thing. There's the old saying that when rates go up, they take the escalator. And when they come down, they take the stairs. We just saw the rates take the elevator on the way up in 2022, and now have started taking the stairs down since November. It's going to take some time. That does not mean they will get back to where they were in the 2s and the 3s. There is no factual data out there that can support that fantasy. If that's what you're waiting for, you are going to lose out and you're going to get burned. Prospective buyers may be tempted to try to time rates to jump into the market when rates dip, but timing rates, it's extremely difficult. In a survey from the California Association of Realtors, 75% of sellers say it's a good time to buy, and 83% of buyers say it's a bad time to buy. From those stats alone, there is a lot of disconnect right now. And I think it goes back to something I've said in other episodes. There are a lot of decisions that are being made right now based upon fear and not on factual data. And with that, I want to wrap up all of this by talking about where I think the market is at. I think we're in a place that's very interesting right now. There's no question about that, where we're in a turn in real estate. That turn started back at the beginning of 2022, and it was a time where rates started to go up. They were watching the rates go up this past year, and they thought, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens. No doubt we'll look back on this year and say it was defined by interest rates, and that caused the market to do what it's done. It's a little bit of a turn in real estate. It's kind of like driving a car, if you will. A lot of people can drive at an extremely high speed if they never have to make a turn or worry about objects on the road. That's pretty easy. It's the skilled drivers that are able to weather the bad road, take the time to assess the best path forward, and make a calm decision in a short enough time and make the turns controlled with no hesitation. It's the same thing in business. But here's the secret. It's the best of us right now that understand that and adjust the quickest. They adjust to what's happening. They slow down, they pick their line, and then they come through the turn and they hit the gas. And that's why, as they come out of the turn, which is what we're starting to do right now, we're starting to come out of that turn. Some people, people that want to create generational wealth, end up farther ahead. Really so far ahead, others can't catch them through the turn. Hopefully that helps you understand what is happening as we start to see the year unfold in 2023 and what we'll see with interest rates, what we'll see with inventory, what we'll see with home prices. Clearly, we are turning out of the market of the last couple years. There are a lot of people that are wondering what's going to happen. And here's what I believe. Over the next 3 to 6 months, as we enter into the spring market, there will be wealth and legacies built during this time because there will be people that master the turn. And my hope is, as we all prepare for the year, that you'll take all of this information, all the knowledge that you have, and you'll build your plan, you'll build your team, and you'll say, this is what we need to do to master the turn going into the spring market. So to wrap it all up, I think right now the one thing that I can see, there is a little bit of relief in interest rates, and we don't have the inventory we need as we come into this spring market. but a lot of buyers are still sitting on the sidelines waiting for the sky to fall. I believe if we're in a stable interest rate environment, we're going to see a lot of demand from folks all over the country. If you're really ready to utilize this information and make the turn, this might be a great time to buy before your other competition decides to come into the game. I am planning to do more updates like this every single month, so I hope you enjoyed this deep dive on the market for January, and as we discussed a little bit of what's going on at the end of the year and how we're going into this year. For more information like this in the future, subscribe to the channel or reach out to me directly at either BrandonKaylaRealEstate@gmail.com or 979-541-7937. Talk again soon.